Okay, we're just breaking into the weather there because that Clive Palmer from the Palmer United Party is holding a media conference in Canberra.
Today, Why Australia, benchmark 2015, where it tells you the truth about the Australian economy, tells you the truth about government performance, and this will all be contrary to what you receive tomorrow for domestic consumption in the intergenerational report. Over here, for example, is our debt profile, right? And of course our debt's not 16 to 26%, as the government says. That's the debt ceiling that hasn't actually been fully drawn down. But you can see in comparison where we are. Germany, for example, has 300% more debt than Australia does have. We go to the United Kingdom, we go to the United States, they've got about 500% more debt than we're currently carrying in relation to their population. So again, this is a report released by the Australian government, so there can be no doubt about its veracity. And I think they've handed out a couple to you, so I'll just take you to some of the relevant points in the report. If you go to page 5 in the report, you'll see that it says the real GDP growth for the country and in the developed countries since 1991. And of course, Australia is #1 in the world for the rate of growth in our GDP, and we're the only country in the developed countries that has had no years of recession during that period of time. So what do you think about our GDP and how well we're doing? Well, we're the world champions, and that's what's not being told to the Australian people. If we go over to the Australian government report again, to page 11, this is this one here on the debt. As you said, Japan's got 800% more debt than we're currently holding, so we're one of the lowest debt countries in the world. On page 17, they show that Australia is the third largest holder of management funds in the world, only exceeded by the United States and Luxembourg in Europe. And that's something you don't realise, that we're holding more managed funds and capital in this country than any comparative country in the world. Again, if you look at page 32, we talk about labour productivity and growth, and we find that Australia's growth and productivity among our labour force has nearly been twice that of the United States in the last 12 months, and twice that of Spain, and nearly double what the OECD average is. We then look at this graph, which I'll show the viewers at home, right? This is an important graph. This talks about Australia's productivity. And here you see Australia's productivity since 1991 has been continually rising, and the cost of labour has been continually declining. So the big lie in Australia at the moment is that our labour rates are out of control and we can't compete. We've got to get rid of the minimum wage. But actually, labour's been declining, and what we've been getting in business and elsewhere is a higher productivity. So what they've been telling the media and everyone is just a lie. It's not what they say overseas. The biggest lie, of course, is tertiary education, where Australia ranks #1 in the world for the amount of people going to university. #1. The United States is right down here. I think there's a link between the amount of people going to university and our being #1 in the world in growth in our GDP. And that's something we shouldn't want to keep and not destroy. The other thing, of course, is in education, Australia is #1 in the world of people going to secondary school, and that's for sure. But what about the red tape? It needs to be cut. We've got to cut the red tape. This is the Index of Economic Freedom by the OECD, published by the Australian government, and it's a measure of how hard it is to do business in a commodity. And what's it show? Australia's 3rd easiest country in the world. The only two that beat it is Hong Kong and Singapore. So we're much, much easier than we are in the United States. So all that red tape mustn't be that bad, comparatively, if we're #3 in the world for the ease of doing business. If we go further over in the report, we look at the other types of things in our doing business, and of course, it says Australia and the Legal Rights Index is #1. So we've got the best legal system in the world, the most...
Okay, we'll leave that there for the moment because the GDP figures have come out.